Hi, welcome to Tea and Tarot, episode 4, Felicia and Anjoli. Today we're going to talk about the Hierophant and the Lovers card, so stick around.
All righty. So, what you drinking today?
Today I am drinking Daily Defense. It is ginger. Lots of ginger. Lavender and chamomile.
Ooh.
Very good.
Are you drinking it for any specific reason or ailment?
We are in the menstrual phase of my cycle, and you taught me lavender helps relieve cramps and bloating with the chamomile and ginger. So yes, that's why.
Lovely. How aligned are we? I'm in my menstrual cycle too.
It's crazy.
I think like day 2 or 3.
I'm day 2.
Are you really? How are we so aligned? I love it.
How connected.
So I'm also drinking some ginger. I'm drinking turmeric and ginger.
Nice.
My traditional medicinals tea. And I didn't really have a reason. I'm all about digestion and all that, and like
healthy gut health.
Yeah, and keeping my inflammation low. So turmeric's super good for that, for inflammation.
Yeah.
And pain, like in high doses. Like I actually have a friend who had knee problems, and she stopped taking like Tylenol and all that crap, and she took turmeric pills, and pain gone.
So does my dad. He has a bunch of back issues and like some other things, and yeah, he takes turmeric pills every day to help with that.
So much better, right? Like ibuprofen like rips your gut apart. Tylenol is metabolized through your liver, so don't do that. So yeah, get some turmeric, and then ginger, because everyone loves ginger, and
I love ginger.
It's so soothing to the stomach. It can help digestion. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking today. Oh, let me read my daily message.
Oh, yay!
The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn.
Oh,
so true. So true. I love it.
So true. Small steps lead to great things.
This is true. Okay, so
I have a comment though. I experienced matcha tea.
Okay.
And I think I did something wrong because it tastes like fish food and I couldn't even drink it. So I'm like,
Okay, let's talk about this.
Right.
Don't give up yet. Okay, so first of all, where did you get your matcha?
I'm afraid to say.
Tell me.
Starbucks.
Okay, we have a problem. So first of all, Starbucks matcha actually doesn't taste bad, but Starbucks matcha in like a typical like tall whatever has 30 grams.
It was matcha and almond milk. That's all I did. I mixed those two together. There was nothing else added.
No, that's what I usually do. But the Starbucks matcha, they put their sugar in their matcha mix.
In the matcha, gotcha. And it didn't taste sweet at all.
Really?
It tasted like straight I don't eat fish food, but I know how it smells. It tasted like how it smells.
Because maybe the Starbucks where you go, they removed it, but the Starbucks I go to, it's really sweet. And then when I looked it up and I did some research, it's like up to 30 grams and just like small things. So you might as well just eat a bowl of ice cream, right? And so I was just like, so I stopped going there. Matcha, I like to buy mine from the Reserve online, and they always have like 50% off. So wait till they have 50% off, because it's like $40 for like an ounce, but you can get and it's the higher quality of matcha, the better the flavor. I bought cheap stuff from like the grocery store, and it tastes more like grassy. Yeah, I like it. So the way I make mine is I whisk in like my organic matcha with some hot water, whisk it really good with my little bamboo whisk. And then I'll put some almond milk in, and I'll froth it with my frother, like a little bit. And then I fill up the rest with water. And then I don't really need sweet. I actually like bitter. So it doesn't really bother me. But the Reserve definitely tastes better. I've had one that I was just like, it's so ugh. But you can put some stevia in it, and that would sweeten it. But I mean, it's not for everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Because I don't really super like sweets taste.
Okay.
I do like the more earthy, maybe even a little bitter. So I think something was wrong with mine because it literally tasted like fish food.
Okay, that makes me think that it was like rotten or something.
I know.
I've
took
never
steps and I'm like, I'm not gonna make myself drink this.
to me, it's never tasted fishy. The worst is it's just tasted very grassy.
Yeah.
And
I felt like this isn't right.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that was your experience. Oh,
that's okay. Anyways.
All right. So let's dive in. So we're talking about the Hierophant and the Lovers today. So let's start with the Hierophant. So
yeah, I feel like I always go first. So you go first today.
Oh, are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
I know you have some things to say about Mr. Hierophant.
I know. That's why I'm waiting.
Okay. So some key words for the Hierophant. First of all, Hierophant's number 5 in the majors. When I look at the Hierophant, it's associated with Taurus. The reason is because when we think of Taurus, Taurus is fixed and can be a little rigid. And the Hierophant is all about tradition. So some words I wrote down were traditional, conservative, moral principles, and even like authority on some level, not like the emperor, but just, yeah. Like the status quo, societal norms.
Yeah.
And institutions. So think of like the institution of marriage, that is a societal norm. Or any type of like large organization or like a bureaucracy. But the interesting thing is it rules these things, but it can also talk about like the church and spiritual wisdom and guidance, or it can literally be, on the Gilded Tarot, there's a man. I don't know, what does yours look like?
It's a man in a robe, and he's on a throne of sorts with 2 people who are maybe kneeling and looking up to him. There are a set of keys crossed. Almost makes me think like he unlocks the answer. He has the knowledge. My throat is tightening up. I am telling you, this guy triggers me.
Oh no.
Okay, no, but go on.
So he can be a spiritual teacher, a mentor. Any teacher, but definitely a spiritual teacher or guru or like an expert. But I've often seen the Hierophant come up too when just a higher lesson is being learned in whatever the situation is. I'll give you the stage now, and then after we can kind of talk about different scenarios I've seen him pop up in. But
so definitely everything that you just said. 5s also kind of are not super fun. And he's the 5th card. So instability, some challenges, movement. Like this isn't stagnant energy to me. I mean, it might feel like you're going in circles perhaps, but you're not necessarily in one spot reflecting. So again, like my throat is literally closing up. I feel like I want to say 5 things at once. Okay. So I wrote down some notes to try to stay focused here. Okay. To try to figure out where I'm coming from. So spiritual power through conscious choices. So it's not like the high priestess that's just intuition. It's sort of this space of spiritual wisdom that is learned through experience or analyzed through mental energy. And it feels manipulative, like they're using spiritual wisdom to control or exert power over others for their own power or good. It's not for the people. And there's sort of this rigid adherence to truth, but truth is whatever that person in power decides is truth. And it's not necessarily a truth that's good for all. It's a truth that's good for them. I think this card makes me wonder whose truth are you following, yours or someone else's?
Mm-hmm.
And why kind of decision.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, what is your relationship with learning from others? Is there a blind faith? Are you always challenging authority, right? Like it could be either or
Mm-hmm.
kind of expression. But for me, this card and because of the 5 is there too, like there's some kind of conflict somewhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point with the 5. I never associated it like that, but I agree, because here, if we're talking about the fool's journey, we're trying to figure out what are our values and our beliefs. And we are, as we know in society, we are shaped by societal norms. And so a lot of us think we do what we do because we want to do it, but are we doing it because we want to do it or because it's conditioned in us, right?
Right.
And so that's that deep reflective question you could ask yourself. But on the higher end, I think it can be, as a spiritual guru or teacher who can help you understand yourself better. I've seen it show up in various ways. I've seen it show up when it's like a big, large company. I've seen it show up when, like I said, someone's learning just a profound lesson right now. This experience is, they're in some type of situation and they don't understand why, and the Hierophant will come up, and there's something they have to learn here. About their values, about their beliefs. And I can see why you're not a huge fan of this card too, because if we think of the Hierophant and associate him with like church and religion, for example, church and religion can be really helpful for some people. It can help you find purpose and feel connection, but it can also really do the opposite, right? It can make you feel like
very divisive.
Yeah, like I don't belong because I don't fit into this box, which is basically the Hierophant upright, right? It's very conservative. When I've seen it as like advice or like an outcome for someone, it often means that they have to be very conservative and cautious, and follow societal norms, for example. Like if someone's like, am I going to get this job? And the Hierophant comes up, it's usually like, well, it depends. If you pass the first interview and you tick all their boxes, then like it's not a yes or no. It's that they are going through this system. And if you can fit in their system and check all those boxes, then you could get the job.
Yeah. But do you want that job that is so stuck on check marks and boxes?
Right. And
for me, no.
Right. But the other thing is the Hierophant can represent marriage, right? And when I was first learning tarot, and conversing with some other tarot readers, something that was taught to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, just because the Hierophant talks about the institution of marriage, it doesn't talk about love per se. It's just showing the contract, right? The agreement, the institution, the tradition, right? It doesn't, I'm not saying it doesn't mean love, but a lot of people will be like, oh, how does, they're talking about a person and how does this person feel about me? And they think, oh, they want to marry me. And it's like, no, not necessarily. It can just mean that they look at you like the person they could bring home to their mom because you fit that standard.
Good, right? On paper. Yeah.
Anything else come up for you around him upright?
No.
You're so mad at him. Oh, poor Hierophant. I don't think he's always bad. But on my Gilded Tarot, there's a planet in the background, and I couldn't tell you what planet that is.
Yeah, no planet on mine.
I don't know what that means. I'm trying to think of any other time. So when he comes up in love, it can talk about, like it could just be a commitment, like a normal, whatever normal is, right? In that, in your culture, right? So it's normal for like a man and a woman to date, right? That's normal. I actually, when it's been in reverse, and I guess we'll get into that in a sec, can talk about an unconventional relationship. Now, it doesn't mean there's necessarily an affair. It can be, but it can also talk about something that's outside of societal norms, like a man-to-man relationship. I've seen it. I've actually seen it come up when I've done readings for people who who are not heterosexual.
Mm-hmm.
So it can just show that relationship. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else upright that I want to share. What would be the spiritual or the major arcana lesson in the Hierophant from your perspective?
Somewhere along the lines of autonomy, like this is sort of the crossroads of standing up for yourself, taking your own path, finding your own way that's based on your own values, core values, what's important to you. Like, I think this is now the time where you're being asked, is this what you really want? If so, awesome.
And to piggyback off that, does this align with your core values and your beliefs? Right.
Yeah.
And to really question those. And, maybe you do need to seek wise counsel, whatever that may be. That doesn't have to be spiritual leader. That could be a counselor. Right.
Yeah.
So I would say that too.
And also maybe not to rush into making that decision.
Yes. Don't. Yeah.
5 is action, but I'm just thinking, like, when we react rather than respond to some pretty big choices and sort of weigh out our options, like that takes a minute. Take 5, like chill out for a sec. Like, let's think about this, and get really clear. Let's get real clear.
Yeah. And it goes back to that Taurus energy, right? Taurus is very conservative, very stable, very slow. And the Hierophant adopts those qualities as well.
Which maybe that's why there's some tension in this card, because I do associate 5s with movement. And then you have this like Taurus slowing it down. This like
maybe
institutional corporate red tape, things take forever to like find a solution. And there's just all these twists and turns and you have to be so careful kind of thing. But you have that like, I don't know, another word, like the tension, like the desire to move, but you feel trapped or stuck in a way. And that's like a personal thing for me that I hate. So maybe like, that's why I have a problem with the Hierophant.
Yeah, no, and you kind of reminded me of that authority energy with him. And it's authority, but it's not like the emperor authority. It's like societal norms authority, right? Like society tells you what is okay and what's not okay. And that
I think also, so I would rather have the emperor. For me, the emperor is very clear who is in power. You go to him if you have a question or concern or a disagreement. You know exactly who to go to. With this feels a little hazy. Like everyone's pointing their fingers at one another and like, you come to someone for help and then you have to go somewhere else. Like you're kind of being like this circle around. Like
think of like a bureaucracy or a large organization, right? Like anyone who's worked for a large corporate organization, it can get really frustrating. So I totally get that. And again, it depends on the context, right?
For sure.
The way it shows up in a reading. So I've seen him show up for representing the institution of marriage or like a commitment. I've seen him representing a person who this person was very they cared about societal, they wanted someone who looked the right way and had the right job. You know what I mean? They were a very conventional type of person. As advice, again, I mean, as always, context is everything, but as advice, I would say sometimes this means you need to seek advice, or the advice is to play it safe, be cautious, don't do anything rash or outside of societal norms, because that could work against you in whatever this situation is.
I think it's kind of interesting how you're saying being conservative. And I don't know if these two work hand in hand, but like, I feel like it's important to have an open mind and consider all the possibilities, all the potential possibilities. I'm saying that word again, but I just feel like there are institutional norms or societal norms, and the Hierophant comes up And it's like, do you need to know what is expected of you so you can get what you want? Is that like challenging something within you? Or are you expected to be a little bit more innovative, but you're stuck in sort of this conventional box? So I feel like depending on the person or what's going on, the Hierophant can ask you a couple of different things.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And I mean, again, going back to the Fool's Journey, yes, I know the Fool's Journey is not linear, but if we're telling it like a story, you know, the Hierophant is where we, you know, the next lesson is the Lovers, which is choice, right?
Right.
So here we're trying to figure out, what do we want? Like you said, what do we value?
Choices.
What do we, like, do we want to fit into this box? Do we not? Like, or, you know, so yeah, that's really interesting. Have you ever, I know that I like to go back to previous, you know, readings I've done and what the card has meant. Have you ever had any connection with the Hierophant? Or I know that,
you know, it's interesting. I rarely see the Hierophant, and I think it's because I have such a bias towards it that spirit knows that, and it doesn't come up.
It doesn't come up for you. Okay. Yeah, that again goes back to your relationship with your deck, right? Like I get your take on the Hierophant for sure. I don't see him in that negative of a light, but I can understand why someone would be repelled by that energy. I totally 100% understand that, especially as a tarot reader / astrologer, you know, like that does not fit into society's norms, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So you want to talk about Hierophant reverse?
I would just say, other than what I've already said, this energy can feel more intense. I think that it might feel more urgent in some way.
Okay. So some keywords I wrote are, just because the way I read, sometimes it can just take the energy and flip it, or like you said, sometimes it can intensify it. And sometimes it can totally mean something else. So again, context is everything, clarifiers, all that. But it can, I wrote like unusual, unconventional, like a different approach, thinking outside of the box, like outside of societal norms. What else did I write? It can sometimes signify in a love context, it can signify a broken contract, a broken agreement, right? Like divorce or separation, or even an extramarital affair, right? Because that's socially not acceptable, right? It could also just be a relationship that exists outside of the traditional norm. So again, like a gay or lesbian relationship, an unmarried couple, although I don't know how unconventional that is anymore, but you know, living apart, or just something as unusual about the relationship in comparison to societal norms. It can mean that you need to break free from societal norms, right? Like that rebellious energy. So like as advice, I would say, like, you need to think outside the box. You need to do something different. You need to do something unusual. Don't do the tried and true. It's not going to work for you. In a love context, I always have to clarify to see, like, is this just an unorthodox relationship, or is there something weird going on here? So I'll often look for like a third party, or again, it could just be a broken contract in some way, whether that's divorce or cheating, or, I mean, I can't think of anything else that would break the contract.
So it's so funny because I know you have me as a tarot reader, right? But like, I'm not. And I think this is why. So probably people come to tarot readers and, you know, sometimes they might not feel super comfy. Like if I was to pull this card up, I'd have so many questions for someone because I need to know better, like the context. But sometimes people, when you're reading for them, they don't want to give that information because, you know, they might think that you're sort of, I don't know. But but like if this card would come up and either it's like think outside the box or be conservative and a little bit more traditional, like those are two totally different things. And it's like, I think I would ask, if this card came up, like, and with the 5 energy too, like, where are you feeling kind of stuck, or that you're on
Mm-hmm.
the hamster wheel and you're not getting anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
like what aspect or area of your life does this sort of resonate with you, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, and like start the conversation that way. But I don't know if that would make sense in a traditional tarot reading, because people want to hear your interpretation.
No, I mean, the readings, I don't really do live readings. All mine are pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So usually someone will just say, I want a love reading or I want a career reading. Sometimes they'll give me a little information. To be honest, sometimes the less I know, the better.
Yeah.
But then they'll sometimes ask, and I'll ask questions too sometimes in the response, like, this looks like this is going on or that. I did a reading years ago for an old friend. We're not in contact anymore, but and I felt like they were withholding information from me that I was picking up in the cards, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to hear the message. But for the most part, my clients, I feel, are pretty
Open.
well, and they know how I am. Like, literally, I had a reading the other day and my client was like, just give it to me real, like, just say it, I don't care how bad it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're very, they know how I read. I don't want to say I don't sugarcoat. I try to make sure my messages are received well, right? So I don't call that sugarcoating. I just call it, being effective with my communication and helping them be able to hear the message, especially if it's something that might be a little upsetting to them.
Yeah.
And I'll usually ask, especially if I think there's maybe an affair or something going on, do you think that this could be happening? And most of the time they're like, hell yes, I think it's happening. Right. And then
So that's my confirmation right there.
Right. It's confirmation. Or they're like, well, I met this other person, or it's them, right? I never know who it is. Sometimes I do, but I never know who it is. And then, like, with that one friend, it was like all over the reading, and they were just like, I'm perfectly happy. And I'm like, okay. Then that's great. Like, I don't know why you came for a reading, but
right.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't come for a reading when you're happy, but usually people need some guidance, right? They're like,
they're interested in some sort of self-development.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't like doing readings just for predictions, because I don't think they can do that. Now, I'm not saying they haven't. They definitely have in some cases, especially for people who continue to do the same thing with the same person and get the same results. The cards are going to show you what that result is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So I always say, if nothing else changes, this is what it's currently looking like. But we also have so much free will, and we can manifest. And so there's that. And so I always say, like, it's not predictive. Like, I mean, it can be, but it's not always. You can change that future energy for sure.
Yeah.
But I kind of think I kind of got off topic there, but yeah, I mean,
surprise.
I'm wondering, like, I guess you associate the Hierophant different than I do in reverse, because in reverse, like, again, in a love context, it's different, but it doesn't have to be bad. Like, if someone was like, I want to, spice up my marriage, and this card came up, I would probably say, like, of course, with clarifiers, like, you guys need to do something different, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do something unconventional, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say break up, right? Which is what this card can sometimes talk about. So I'm wondering, like, with the way
that makes sense with, like, my question, right? So if I was to ask, where do you feel kind of stuck, or like you're trying something and nothing's working, like, if they were completely honest, they would say, well, my sex life is kind of lame.
Yeah. So
I'd be like, okay, so then you probably need to do things differently. Keep an open mind. Maybe try some things you never did before.
Yep, exactly.
Right? That would make sense.
Yeah. And I actually remember pulling the Hierophant in reverse for my mom in a reading I did for her. And for those who obviously don't know who she is, which is everyone, she I just realized that she owns a transgender publishing company. So very outside of societal norms, right? And she was needing, this was years ago, before the business had really gotten established, and it's come quite a long way since then, but she wanted some guidance on creating this. And I said, you're gonna have to do things different. Like, what you think you need to do, just throw out the book, throw out, the traditional, and, like, do it your way. Do it, because she tends to just be unconventional in general, right? And Yeah. And I still, to this day, I still remember this card, and she'll ask me for guidance. And I still will say, you need to, just keep doing what you're doing, do it differently. Doesn't matter if other publishing companies aren't doing that. Your publishing company is very different than other people's, right? So yeah, it usually means that. It's never shown up in any of my readings where it's been like getting bad advice, but I can see how that could be, depending. We know lots of spiritual religious leaders are not very good, right? So to be careful who are you listening to?
Yeah. Watch out for dogma.
Yes,
like adhering
that's a good word.
strictly to any set of rules.
This could definitely be as a person. It could be someone, again, I'd have to clarify to find out, but it could be someone who is very unorthodox and very unusual, or it could be someone who is just so rigid, right? Like if I saw this was like the emperor representing a person, I would just be like, ooh, this person needs to, smoke a joint or something,
Oh my God.
just lighten up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, Spirit just doesn't show me this card a lot, because I'm just even looking at it like the guy in my picture, he's got his, I don't know, I forget what these are called, his little wand thing.
Yeah.
And like, some kind of symbol with his hands for the air, like he's talking to God and like looking up, not even bothering to interact with the two people below him.
So there's some arrogance there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's this very egotistic, but it doesn't feel genuine to me. It feels very manipulative, controlling. And I just don't want any part of it.
No, I get it. And that's another thing I want to tell people who are reading tarot. You have to look at the imagery on your card, because that's going to change what that means. For example, some cards show, a different facial expression, or like in your case, like he's not even looking at those people. Like that is very symbolic, right? To this authority, this person who's apparently above others, right?
Yeah.
Mine doesn't show that. He looks like he's kind of like, I don't know, praying or something.
Yeah. Yep.
And to some extent, we are all controlled by society.
It just feels right? Performative. That's the word I'm looking for. Performative.
Yeah, preachy even. Yeah. Yeah, pretty deep card. It's not my favorite one either, but yeah, I think that kind of sums up the Hierophant. All righty, so that kind of sums the Hierophant, and let's move into the Lovers, which is number 6. And we associate the Lovers with Gemini. So tell me what you got for the Lovers.
Okay, the Lovers, number 6. So after the 5, where there's sort of a storm going on, right? We have the 6, which is a little bit more peaceful, restful, contemplative. I don't know if reflective is the right word, but being just more centered and grounded and present. An engagement of sorts, but there's a little observation here too, right? A little objective.
Yeah, with that Gemini air energy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're involved and engaged, but you're not attached to it. There's not like a huge attachment, I guess. And I feel like there's definitely, especially with the Gemini energy, a little bit of duality. I feel like this card is a lot about choices, kind of like union of opposites. So like how we were just talking about the Hierophant, sort of being at this crossroads. Now we need to understand, like, okay, for example, my job and my morals, they don't seem to integrate well. Is there a way we can compromise here? Like, I feel like this is a card of compromise and integration of seemingly opposite and difficult choices.
Difficult is a good word. Yeah. Because like in mine, the Gilded Tarot, they kind of they romanticize it, and definitely I'll give a few examples in different contexts. But when I think of 6, and we talked about this in one of our other podcasts, 6s are about harmony and exchange, right?
Yeah.
There's always another involved. So we can look at, you know, the Lovers is about choice, right? But even like the Six of Pentacles, the Six of Swords, there's a moving away, there's a moving from, there's a giving, there's a taking, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not, it's not like the nines that are very independent and alone. So traditionally the Lovers actually showed a man torn between two women. And so everyone always thought when it came up, there was like a third party, and no, this like it can be, but the symbolism in that is that there's a choice to be made, right?
Yeah.
So you know, now that you've gone through the Hierophant and you know what your values are, you know what your beliefs are, you've done that spiritual work. Now it's time to make that choice, right? What are you going to choose? And sometimes I see it as a head over heart decision, right? When your head is pulling you one direction, your heart is pulling you in another.
Could be, yeah.
Choice is a good word. It has also, other words I wrote are attraction, other half. It can be a karmic bond depending on the context of the reading. To me, it is one of my cards that can indicate that. I would need other cards to show me that as well. It can be a very deep connection, not just with a person, with anything. It can be well matched, like this fits, right? And another tarot reader taught me this years ago too with the Lovers, is that when the Lovers comes up, it can be, a lot of people think it's always a relationship, but no, it can be a job, it can be a pet, it can be a car, it can be, but the key is, it's like you want this thing so badly, like you are drawn to it, you are attracted to it, right? It could be anything. It could be a freaking chocolate bar in the grocery store, right? Like you have to have this, right? And so there's just like this instant connection or attraction. Now it can be your future best friend, right? It doesn't have to be your future lover. It can just be like, I meet this person and we just click. And it can involve multiple people sometimes, especially two. And I always tell people, and in my readings, the way I associate this card is the decision you make in this card will have long-term implications. This is not just some small decision. No. There will be other consequences, for better or for worse, because of this decision. So it's a big decision, maybe even a karmic lesson. I've seen it come up for karmic relationships where, again, it can feel really great in the beginning. Doesn't mean it's going to always stay like that, and that there's a big lesson ahead. And
and so that's kind of like, you know, what I'm talking about earlier, right? Like we're in the moment. It's after the storm where we're feeling a little bit more confident about our choices, but we're still a little bit in observation mode because we're trying to figure out how pieces fit together. So there's a little bit more movement, but I don't feel like we're fully in action mode yet. Because isn't like the Chariot next?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And like the Chariot feels like, okay, now we've made the choice. Let's get it going here.
So you're taking what you've learned on your journey so far, and now you're starting to figure out, you know,
I feel like you're integrating pieces here. I think a big lesson for me on this one is some kind of reconciliation of two seemingly difficult or two opposing choices. Like, how does this work? Right. And I think some lower expressions is some of what you've already mentioned, sort of that instant gratification energy, like maybe being mindful of that if we're, again, reacting based on sort of our first gut reaction, or are we being a little bit more thoughtful in how this looks long term?
Yeah, oh no, this is I want to talk about this book after. It's a book of reversals.
Oh, nice.
I actually never looked at it, but I bought it a long time ago. But I want to see what Roberta Lee says about the Lovers. Let's see.
The Lovers. I do too.
I think there's because I do so many love readings, it does come up a lot.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty long-term relationship with the Lovers, but she says the Lovers indicates that natural attraction will lead to a correct choice. So like that other tarot reader taught me years ago, it's like you have to have this thing, even if like, and that's why I can talk about affairs and stuff sometimes, because you just are so drawn to this person, place, or thing, or whatever this is. Or maybe it's just a bad decision. Maybe it's like a career move that might have implications on other people and other people's lives, but it doesn't even matter because you just have this pull. That can also be a red flag for trauma bonding, but that's another podcast. But so let's see. Well matched, correct, a correct choice. Like if this came up as a job, I would tell the person, like, this is a match. Like, you are, like, this job, you're going to feel really connected to this job. Again, I have to look at what else is in the whole spread, but just in general, it's like a soulmate job almost. Like, you just connect to this job. It can also be karmic too. Like, a lot of people think karma and karmic relationships are just with like romantic partners, but we can have karmic relationships with our boss or an employee or something like that, for sure. But to me, if someone was saying, like, I've also seen this story come up in an advice position, and it's not the best advice position because it doesn't really give people want yes or no answers, and the tarot doesn't do that. But what it does do is it tells you that this choice will have long-term implications, and you need to consider those and who it will impact. But also, sometimes I have seen that heart and head, and that it's not like there's any wrong or right choice. It's just these are going to be the consequences of that choice, if that makes sense. Love is pretty simple. It usually is a very strong connection, magnetic connection. Like, I don't want to say it's not a good card for love. In my love readings, it's usually indicative of a karmic, very stressed relationship that is going to bring profound lessons. That's just been my experience. It doesn't mean it always is, but that's how it's shown up.
People get really excited when they see the lovers, and I'm like, oh.
You're like, ooh.
Right. Well, because like we all have that experience of like being instantly bonded to someone for, a million different reasons. Obviously there's a huge spark there, and that's very exciting. But then like the reality of life comes in, right? Like, how do you navigate the day to day? Like, are you guys an actual fit? Same for a job. Oh my God, I got this awesome job. It's giving me amazing benefits, amazing pay. And then you get there and it's so unfulfilling, or someone's a micromanager, you know what I mean? And so you have like all this tough stuff to kind of try to meld together. Like, I value this and I really don't like this. How, like, does this work? Can I make it work? I don't know. And maybe that's part of the karmic lesson.
Well, speaking of the karmic lesson, I keep bleeding back to the Hierophant, but I do think it's taking what you've learned from the Hierophant and applying it and understanding choice and consequence, right? That your choices have long-term implications. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's a big choice.
And like when it's reversed, again, I just feel like this is more intense. I feel like it is, you're acting maybe even a little recklessly. You're just leading with your gut, with your heart, no thought about
with your libido
repercussions. Right. And I feel like too, there could be a lot of conflicts.
Yes.
Lower vibrational Gemini energy. Sometimes it's just like this
drama.
Yeah. Like in my mind, like what I visualize is sort of this raging storm of ideas and thoughts. And like, you just can't ever get like a clear sentence out of it. It's just like a word. Like, it's just this very chaotic energy that doesn't feel linear in any way. It's just a mishmash.
Yeah, Gemini can definitely spiral. And the lower energy of Gemini, Gemini's, duality, right? Twos and rule, this twins is the symbol for Gemini. And so a lot of people will say that, some Geminis do prefer twos of everything, right? They like choices, which brings us back to the lover's choice, right? Some words that I wrote are just being out of sync. The feelings are not mutual. So if someone, again, it would have to be in context, but it can mean that there's not a mutual connection here. It can also mean bad choice. And I say that with some caution just because I hate saying good or bad. But what I mean by that is it's making a choice for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Like maybe rationalizing a bad decision. And if this was someone's advice, it would to be very careful, because the consequences that you will reap from this decision could like I'm talking long term, right? Like it could lead to a divorce and a separation, or losing your children, or I mean, whatever the storyline is.
Yeah.
Like it can, it's a really intense card, like you said. And
it's intense for sure.
What else did I write down? Yeah, it might just be a choice that has tough consequences no matter what. Like you just, either way, we can't avoid that. This is a difficult decision. Again, like you already mentioned, it can be inner turmoil, typically mental, right? Like just spiraling, like I don't know what to do. Can be an affair. I've seen it a lot of times come up in my readings with other people interfering, or just that a karmic bond has been broken, which can be a good thing if it's a really toxic
honestly
one, right? It could be,
if I never had to go through a toxic relationship again, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't want to live through that karma.
And these types of relationships, again, my love readings, I get a lot of this energy because I do tend to have a lot of clients that I believe are in very karmic relationships, and they struggle to break away from them. And I empathize because I've experienced them myself. And so there's no judgment. I've had clients that have, with the same person for years of turmoil, right? And it can be painful. It can feel like you're losing a part of yourself when one of these bonds break. It really can. And so it's tough. If it's in a love reading and it's relating to that separation, it can be really tough. So yeah, I wrote like an affair, separation. It can be incompatibility, right? Like you're just not compatible. It can also talk about opposites attracting. I can't think of a time where it actually showed up, but it can be that two people are just polar opposites, but there's an attraction there. As a relationship, so this can be a relationship to anything, whether a person, a place, or a thing. It can be that this person needs to just accept that there will be inherent difficulties and complications with this person, place, or thing. And so it's up to you to choose to go down that road, but know that there will be complications.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, so, and I keep forgetting to mention this. There's Christian imagery on the traditional Rider-Waite of what looks like Adam and Eve.
Oh yeah.
Her eating from the what is it? The tree of knowledge.
Yeah. The forbidden fruit.
So, and then she's looking up towards, I mean, I know you're going to show this, but looking up towards what looks like some kind of angel or God, maybe even.
Yeah.
And he's actually looking at her. So there's like a disconnect there. And like, maybe she's looking up, like understanding like her choices or what choice have I made.
There's a lot of symbolism in that card for sure.
Yeah. And it's just kind of leading back to what you're talking about, really tough choices and being prepared for the consequence of the choice you make.
Mine has two dolphins in the background. I don't know what dolphins represent.
What's the symbolism of dolphins?
I know they're really intelligent. Yeah, they're very intelligent. I've heard, this could be wrong, are they the only other animal
I know where you're going with this,
that has sex for pleasure? Is that true?
I think there's more. There's more. Yeah, but they're for sure one of them.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. And this card talks about like being pulled, right? Whether that's usually it's pleasure, right? Or there's some type of attraction, and it doesn't have to be sexual, but it definitely can be. I've seen this come up. Like, yeah, if this card comes up to how someone views you, they view you as like your other half. Like they have to have you. Doesn't mean they want to keep you, but they have to have you, right? Like this can be intense. right?
Very intense.
Okay, so I think I had some more things about reversals. Oh, so we talked about this in one of our other podcasts, that yes, we don't learn the major lessons in order, but to understand what they mean, I like to kind of sometimes consider them in order just for teaching purposes.
Yeah.
So if someone is constantly finding themselves in a lovers in reverse situation, position, whatever, you might be stumbling or struggling because you haven't fully integrated the lessons in the Hierophant, right? Like maybe you need to seek out wise counsel. Maybe you don't know what you value, right? Especially when we think of like affairs, for example. And I just say that because that's the way I associate this card with a lot in my love readings, is other people being involved or broken contracts and other people. Yeah. So what are your values and your beliefs, right? Maybe we need to figure those out first. So we don't end up back up here where we're stuck in this karmic situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, I mean, for me, the lower vibrational or reversed energies of this card is just going on impulse. And if you haven't learned the lessons of the Hierophant, then you're going to be acting that way, right? And just stuck in these harmful cycles
and experiencing consequences you don't want.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm fully on board with that.
So like this could be, like I always say, like a relationship of consequence. So that doesn't mean all doom and gloom, but it could mean that this person puts you through the ringer for a few years, right? It could mean that we could go down a million avenues as
so many. I know
this could impact you, but there's some, I don't know, I make it sound so dangerous. I don't want to scare people away from the lovers, but it doesn't have to be. It's just deep and intense. And I know that those can be very hard to pull away. And you know what? Most of us, I would say, have to experience that at some point.
I agree. Yeah. It's an unfortunate lesson. But yeah, like the lovers, right? I don't know. I think of doomed lovers, like Romeo and Juliet or something like that.
Yeah.
Where, they just throw all caution in the wind and all that matters is that moment. But that's just not how real life works.
Well, look at how it worked out for them.
Not well.
Very well. So
I think the lesson is just cautioning from like just leading with your heart and whatever you want in that moment.
Right. And again, I think sometimes that's part of our journey, that we do have to just follow that impulse to learn the lesson. We can't all go through life and just have happily ever after it. I'm stumbling. Happily ever afters, right? Sometimes we have to have that intense experience with that person, place, or thing that we know, like, and usually we do know. If we backtrack, we knew getting into this. I used to call it playing with fire, because I used to love to play with fire. And I knew every time I got burned, I knew, but I just kept putting my finger back in the fire.
Yeah. It's so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Moth to flame. And that's okay. Some of us have to do that. But I'm trying to think, like, if we take it out of the love context and just in general.
I mean, like I was thinking with, like how we were talking about career earlier, right? People who are really career driven or career focused or have spent, a good part of their life trying to reach some goal. Like for me specifically, I'm thinking like my journey through graduate school, right? And like wanting to get this like dream job that I imagine. And then I actually get there. I'm like, this sucks. I hate this. This is nothing like I thought I've been working for all this time. And, what originally led me to grad school and led me to want to do this career was because of some romanticized version of it. It wasn't actual reality of what it looked like.
Okay, so what I want to share was I used to be a part of this tarot forum, and it used to be active, and you could post things and learn. And now it's archived, so you could still use it to like look at old discussions on cards, and people debate things and share their thoughts. And I've just learned so much. And this one tarot reader that goes under the name 13. Clearly they were reading for a long time because they always posted just the way they explained cards were just in a way that I was like, wow, like, why didn't I think of that? So this thread was about the lovers as how someone sees you. So someone had pulled the lovers as how someone saw them. They wanted some help on like, what does this mean? Like, how do they see me? And 13 said, oh, where'd their post go? If you were reading this card as feelings, then yeah, they might think you're the love of their life, but you have to be really careful. Like, what are you asking? How they see you or how they feel about you. Those are two very different things, right? Mm-hmm. So they said the card carries feelings of I need this person or I love this person or we must be together. But thinking is that cerebral part. If they felt nothing, what would they think? And so he's trying to get this person to differentiate.
Yeah.
So they said it's hard to view the lovers this way, but the card often seen as Gemini is actually more about thinking than feeling. It's an air card, a card of the mind and the communication, Cupid and Psyche. That need the person feels is a spiritual need, not an emotional need, nor even a matter of passion. It's like this person will make your soul whole. So Gemini says that the person sees a twin. And so in regards to thinking, they probably see your mind and theirs as alike. So basically was just saying, like, when they see you, they like have to have you, they have to know you, they have to connect with you. But again, it's not really, it can be sexual, I do think. Yeah, it depends. But there's something more, I like that they use soul. Like it's like a karmic pull, right?
Yeah. That's kept coming up in my mind. Yeah.
They wrote another post that was so much like better articulated, but I can't find it. So, oh well.
No, I think she brings up a really good point though, is that we look at the lovers, and I mean, we were kind of talking about this earlier, like people immediately get like really excited.
Yeah.
And,
like I found my soulmate.
Starts like going through their mind, and not to be doom and gloom, but it's not really about that. Like you said, like with the Gemini energy, I think early, like when I visualize this, I just see this sort of like chaotic mental energy happening, and I mean, that's a lower expression of it, but yeah, I totally love that she pointed that out, how they see you. It's more about like how they see your mind.
Yeah, because it's not a feely energy, but
yeah.
And in all honesty, like maybe this is my bias, and I always check with other clarifiers. Like I don't just jump to conclusions ever, but whenever I see the lovers, whether upright or reverse, like I think there are complications here. Like there's a lot more going on. What do you think on that?
Yeah, 100%. There's something that feels opposing in some way that needs to be reconciled, compromised, worked out. Absolutely. Melded, differences melded together, kind of thing. And again, like what I was trying to say earlier, and I wasn't able to sort of say it in my card, I don't know where it went now, but Eve, if that's her, she's looking up at this God angel like person, whereas the guy is looking at her, and there's like a misconnection there somehow, like they're not on the same page in some way.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That I wonder what that means on that particular card. And my card, there's only two people, but in traditional cards, there's a man with two women. So that's pretty interesting, right? I'm trying to look at this tarot reversals. I'll put the thing on the page, but what do they say about the lovers? Or she says about the lovers?
Lovers reverse.
Yeah, reverse. So may show an intangible union, a blending of spirits rather than bodies. Sometimes this is a marriage made in heaven between pure soulmates, yet material circumstances keep you apart. You may idealize someone, especially if they're absent, or simply the idea of a relationship. You could be in a relationship that is challenging, inharmonious, immature, or unhealthy, especially involving matters shown by the flanking cards. I think she means by like the surrounding cards.
Yeah.
There could be communication problems, conflicts, disagreements, misunderstandings. Ooh, in the area of romance, you might be seduced or seducing without love. So yeah, I've seen that come up where the relationship is solely on passion and sexual chemistry, not love. And I think that's a problem, because I think a lot of people, and this could be a totally whole other podcast, associate those feelings with love, and they're not. They're totally different. Sexual chemistry does not equal love.
No.
Hard
lesson learned.
Yeah, I think we've all been there before, but it's the pull, right? The pull.
Yeah.
Okay. So she says, okay, it could be unrequited love. I forgot to mention that. That's another one. There can be sexual.
That ties into like idealizing.
Yeah, because you're not seeing this person for. There can be sexual frustration or incompatibility. You could feel pain by jealousy, envy, or possessiveness. In rare cases, there could be a fatal attraction. Ooh, intense.
Ooh, yeah. So intense.
Yeah.
Intense.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, there could be, you might lack discrimination and make bad choices, leading to regrets and guilt, especially if someone else is involved. So we see that with the affairs often. A conflict between devotion to another person or to your higher self could have you stymied. So stymied. I think that's how you pronounce that. Yeah, that's really interesting. I can see that, because think about it, like with an affair, like, I mean, I've never had one, so I don't really know what goes on in one's mind, but I would imagine that you fight with yourself a little.
Oh, sure.
Unless you're a sociopath, you fight with yourself. All right. So I guess that kind of closes this podcast. And
yes.
Last closing remarks. Are we good to go?
Just check us out next week for the Chariot. And then who's 8?
Strength.
Strength card. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You're smiling.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for chatting with us.
Okay, stay tuned for
next
session.
time.